So when it comes to people saying, oh, well, you always say no when you know that you don't, or, oh, just do it this one time and I won't ask you again, that's not true. Or if you just, why are you being so difficult? You don't have to be difficult. Why are you acting like this? Da, da, da. You're not being difficult. Like, hey y'all, welcome back to Through with the Splash of Tea, a podcast where we either speak to brilliant people, do this thing one-on-one, or have best friend chats with my best friend T. I'm your host Cass, and let's get right into it. So today we're going to talk about the power of no. We're going to talk about how important and how powerful it is to simply say no when you don't want to do something. When you don't want to do something, when somebody's trying to push you into doing something, when something makes you a little bit uncomfortable and you're telling yourself that, oh, I'll just push through it, or when you know that somebody's manipulating the current situation in order to force you to say yes. I want to talk about all that because it's so normal for us to feel as though we have to say yes in a situation where we aren't comfortable, where it wouldn't bring us joy in order to do something, where it would literally only appease somebody else. I get that. I get being in that space and feeling the need to say yes. And I'm here to tell you that you need to say no. In those situations specifically, you definitely need to say no because it, one, brings you out of your comfort zone and it shows you that your boundaries are real and your boundaries should be stuck to. And two, and most importantly in my book, it displays to other people what your boundaries are. This is a hard no for me. That is why I just told you no. The end. It explains that to people versus that wishy-washy, I don't know, or I'll think about it, or even saying yes when you really, really, really want to say no. And don't get me wrong, I've been there countless times. I still find myself in that position. It doesn't feel good to know that you're letting somebody else down. And so that's why we often choose to let ourselves down in place of letting somebody else down. And I'm here to tell you that that's not fair to you and that you need to start saying no whenever you feel as though it's important. When you feel as though it's a situation where you don't want to do something and you're like really all set, then a no is a no. The end. And if it's a situation where you've outgrown, if it's a situation where typically like your friends are used to hearing you say yes in this realm, or this person is used to hearing you say yes in this realm, and you really have been wanting to start saying no, you just didn't feel comfortable doing that, or didn't feel like you had the, I don't know, you didn't, it was uncomfortable for you to say no. I'm telling you now, it's time for you to start saying no. It's time for you to put your foot down, and you're worthy of putting your foot down. And if that person has a bad reaction to it, then that's for that person to deal with. That has nothing to do with you. The end. The end. We're done guilting ourselves into yes. We're done overly apologizing. We're done with that. We are done. If you do not want to do something, the answer is no, and that's the end. That's it. And if somebody doesn't take you seriously, or somebody's like, yeah, whatever, you'll be back tomorrow. All right, that's fine. But right now the answer is no. So I'm gonna exit with that. If I'm back in an hour, I'm back in an hour. But right now it's a no. And you don't come back in an hour. Don't you dare come back in an hour. No, like, because it's so important for us to, and maybe this is because I have more female friends than male friends, but oftentimes I find that it's women. We are the ones that will say yes even though we really don't want to, or we are the ones that will take part in the creepy conversation, or we are the ones that will like laugh off something awkwardly because we're very, very uncomfortable. And it's like no, it's time for us to start saying no. And then another thing, no is a sentence. No is a sentence. So if you're like, no, I'm not trying to do that, I'm like, why? Why don't you want to do that? Like, tell me why. Like, I don't understand. Like, this doesn't harm you in any facet or form. Like, why don't you want to do that? Don't feel the need to explain yourself. You do not have to explain yourself. No is a sentence. It ends there. Your no is enough. It's enough. Your no is enough. It doesn't have to be somebody else's no. It doesn't have to be a different gender's no. It doesn't have to be a different race's no. No. Your no is enough. Like, one of my biggest pet peeves is when somebody says something and then someone just tries to like get around it, or like, what do you mean, like, why are you doing this, that, like, no. And especially from a realm of not wanting to like better the person, or not wanting to add value so the person can learn or to get to a better solution, but from the realm of explain yourself to me, I'm going to change your mind. What are you talking about? What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? This person has already told you that they're not interested. This person has already told you that no, they want no parts. So why are you trying to twist their arm and manipulate and maneuver in order to get them to saying yes? What? What? People are very, very manipulative, and don't let them manipulate you, and don't let them guilt you into doing something that you're not interested in doing or you're not comfortable doing. And I like, oh, especially if you're a young woman, if you're especially if you're a young woman, I feel like when you're young, oh, when you're young, period, it's tough for you. But when you're a young woman, I feel like the world expects you to say yes to everything, anything and everything that they want you to do, anything and everything that anybody wants you to do. I feel like they expect you to say yes. And if you're saying no, then you're being an inconvenience, or you're not going with what everybody else is doing, or you're being difficult, or like, oh my gosh, just can't. If you're a young woman and you feel as though you want to say no, say it. Say it with your chest and walk away. If that's it, like, that's all. No is enough. No is enough. So say your no's and walk away. And even if you're a young boy, say your no's and walk away. Like, you don't need to explain yourself to anybody. Don't let anybody think that you need to explain yourself to anybody. I don't care if you're rich, poor, black, white, green, or purple. A no from you is a worthy no. And it doesn't mean that you need, and that, well, no, that means that you don't need to explain yourself at all. The end. The end. Like, I don't like that. You don't need to explain yourself. If you don't want to do something, you don't have to do it. And that's powerful. There's so much power in that, because that creates this. If you're always saying yes, oh yeah, I'll do it, doesn't matter. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. That first time you say no, people are looking at you like, whoa, okay, she does have some boundaries. There are some things that she's not down with. Maybe she isn't gonna work overtime for 2 weeks straight and not get paid any additional. Maybe she's not willing to do that. Like, maybe, like, okay, maybe we need to value her in a different way. Yeah, maybe you do. The only way that you get respect, the only way that you are able to carve out a space for you in this world, is when you start creating those boundaries. Start letting people know what is okay and what isn't okay. And I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care how old you are. There is no way in hell that everything you're okay with. There's no way. That, oh, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care when it comes to any and everything. Like, come on. No. There are some things that you're interested in. There are some things that you specifically like, and you deserve to be able to take advantage of and enjoy those things just as much as anybody else. Just as much as anybody else. And that starts with creating your boundaries. That starts with saying your no's. That starts with all of that. That starts with all of that. And because you're worthy of that. The end. And I don't care, again, how old you are, what you look like, where you come from. You're worthy of being heard, and you're worthy of people listening to you when you say no, when you say yes, when you say anything. You're worthy of being listened to. Don't let anybody ever make you think that you're not. I don't care who you are. I'm literally speaking to you. I'm literally speaking to you right now. I'm literally speaking to you. You are worthy of the boundaries that you're interested in creating, and you need to start creating those, and you need to start letting people know, like, hey, I'm not okay with that. Even if you say no a lot of the times, and there's this one thing, or there are these two things that you just have a really hard time saying no when it comes to them, challenge yourself this week, next week, challenge yourself and say, like, hey, I'm going to say my first no when it comes to that, because I don't really like doing that. And you shouldn't do it if you don't really like doing it. Like, unless it's like a job that you're being paid for, or unless it's something, unless it's something that's really important. If you aren't interested in doing it, if you're simply doing it to appease somebody else, and you really aren't interested in doing it, then you shouldn't do it. That's it. That's all. You're worthy of the no. You're worthy of people listening to you. You're worthy of people valuing you when you speak. You're worthy of all of that. And that all begins with creating your boundaries. And I'm not saying that you have to say no to everything. Like, no, 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 no. Like, come on. We understand that that's not the case. But you need to start creating, or you should, well, I shouldn't say need or should, but I think it's valuable for you to start creating the boundaries that you need in order to start living life in a way that you want to live and not living for everybody else. Because you're probably already doing that if you're saying, you are already doing that if you're saying yes to everything. You are. And you're worthy of living this life for you. So I like, that's like so freaking important. So important. So, so, so important. One thing that I think is worthy of its own deep dive is the no when it specifically comes to manipulation. When it comes to people gaslighting you, when it comes to people, so when it comes to people saying, oh, well, you always say no when you know that you don't, or, oh, just do it this one time and I won't ask you again. That's not true. Or if you just, why are you being so difficult? You don't have to be difficult. Why are you acting like this? Da, da, da. You're not being difficult. Like, people are literally, these are things that people will constantly say in order to manipulate you, in order to make you believe that you're in the wrong, or not even to go that far, in order to even just get what they want. They don't even really even need to focus on making you feel like though you're in the wrong or making you feel any type of way, but just trying to solely get what they want. That is the goal, to get what they want. And oftentimes they'll use the facet of making you feel small, or making you feel as though you never do anything for them, or making you, they'll use those manipulation tactics in order to get what they want. But you need to keep in mind the goal is always to simply get what they want. So because of that, because the goal is for them to get what they want, and two, because you know that this is something that you're uncomfortable with, or that you simply don't want to do, those are two perfect reasons for you to tell them no, for you to put your foot down. Those are two perfect reasons. The fact that they're only doing it because they want to get what they want, and secondly, because they most likely know, and you definitely know, it's something that you're not comfortable with, something that you no longer want to keep doing, even though you've done it in the past. Yep. Say that no, sis. Say that no. Do not let them manipulate you into being like, oh, well, I feel bad, or okay, I'll just say the no next time. No, no. It's now. It's now. It's now for you to put your foot down. It's now for you to tell them like, hey, I'm not interested in this. And actually, I've never liked it. I've never liked doing this. I've never liked these lunches that we take 3 times a week. They really cut into my work time at work, and I really don't like doing it. So maybe once a week we can tone it down too, but this 3 times a week isn't going to work for me moving forward. Boom. And then you no longer have to take these lunches 3 times a week, and things change. You're able to finish your work quicker. You're able to end your day quicker. Like, everything flourishes. And honestly, we always assume the worst. Just because you're telling somebody no doesn't mean that they'll be combative. It could honestly be a situation where they're like, oh man, like, if you told me earlier, I would have switched this. I didn't even know that. Most people don't enjoy confrontation. Most people don't enjoy confrontation, and a lot of the times they don't even know what it is that you're uninterested in, or that you don't like, because you've never vocalized it. If you've never said it and it's only been something that you've internalized, you can't fault them. You can't fault them for not knowing. Now, if you have vocalized it and no changes have been made, then okay, it's time to have another conversation. But if you've never said anything, you can't. Come on. How are they supposed to know? People aren't mind readers, and a lot of the times we act like people are, and that's not fair. But if you have vocalized yourself and you've told them, hey, no, I'm not interested, and they have leaned on gaslighting, or they have been like, oh, just do it this last time, da da da, you need to be firm on that no. You need to be firm on that no. I'm not interested in doing this. Like I said before, I'm not doing it. The end. And again, it's not easy. It's still something that I work on till this day, but I do understand how important it is. And it makes you feel good. Like, not just creating those boundaries for them, but it makes you feel like, yo, like, I just stood up for myself. Like, I just really like told them what I was thinking, and I was firm on that. I love that. I love that. And that's what we should do. That's what we need to do. That's what we deserve. We often act like everybody deserves so much except for us. Like, we don't deserve everything that we feel as though everybody else should experience. That's not fair. That's not. Because I bet you if you had a friend that was telling you something and the solution was them to say no, you would advise them to say no. Maybe not as sternly as, yo, you just got to say no. But you would tell them in a way that they would be able to receive it, that they need to put their foot down and they need to say no. So why don't you need to do that? Why isn't it time for you to create your boundaries and you to create a space where you're most often comfortable in? Nah. Mm-mm. The time is now. The time is now. No, I strongly believe that. And I do strongly believe that anybody can do that. Anyone. Anyone. And you deserve it. You deserve it. The end. The end. That's that on that. So I'm gonna end there. I do want to share some news with you guys. I've had like a really good like past 2 weeks. And I want to say that because I've been receiving a lot of good news at work. Like one of my coworkers just welcomed a new kitten. Another one of my coworkers is expecting, and another one of my coworkers, her husband, just received some amazing medical news. They were added to an organ transplant list, which is like which is just a huge deal. Like if you have been in like the organ transplant scene, I guess, you know how big of a deal it is. So like I've recently got all that news in the past like 2 weeks, and it just like, oh, it just makes me so happy for like all those women, and as well as like just makes me happy. Makes me happy because like all these people these are things that they really really wanted, and it makes me happy to know that like they were able to accomplish it and able to get it. And people say that when God is blessing, when there's blessings around you, that means that God is dropping blessings in the area, and I think that's cool. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, because just because somebody gets blessings around you doesn't mean that you'll get blessed, but I do believe that God is always watching and um is always seeing our hearts. So yeah, when you're happy for other people, like he sees that in your heart, and as long as you're being genuine and authentic, you're good. You're fine. So I wanted to share that with you guys because there's a lot of good things happening in my area or in around me, and I really like that. I really enjoy that. So I'm gonna close it out there. Like I always say, thank you for watching if you watched. Thanks for listening if you listened. And you can catch Through with a Splash of Tea every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on all streaming platforms and YouTube. Alrighty, y'all. You guys have a great night. Bye.